Hi, this is Matt Donegan from Business Spotlight. I'm here with Jess from Manage. Jess, tell me about you. Tell me about your business, please.
Um, so me, I'm in my early 30s and currently working on my business Manage, which is a corporate massage company where we focus on massaging employees at the same time they work. And we do this using high impact performance points. So we use different pressure points to unlock the concentration and focus in the brain. So our main focus with massage is to improve your performance at work. Um, and we do it based on a company profile as well as an individual profile. So we might use different points on different people depending on what your specific challenges are.
That's really interesting. So um it's just not just making people comfortable at work and having an extra perks, actually trying to drive performance in the business.
Absolutely. Yes. So there can be different things that affect your performance. So some can be if you're experiencing physical discomfort, it can affect how much you can concentrate. Others can be things like, say, ADHD, if you're feeling hyperactive. I mean, one of the things that with ADHD is you can super hyper focus on something you're interested in, but what you're not interested in, you may not be able to focus on.
Yeah.
So we tailor the experience for each different individual, and then we monitor their different metrics and we monitor their performance to ensure that it's like increasing. But what's really interesting is how when you're having the massage, you just zone into,
Yeah.
what you're doing, what's in front of you.
That's brilliant. I really like that approach because I think things like massage in corporate environments can often be seen as a job perk and a way to keep the staff happy and bring in a masseur and um, everybody loves it. Everybody in the building loves it. But what you're actually doing is driving performance. So it's quite a scientific approach to it. So in terms of your customer base, when I think of sectors where you mentioned ADHD and neurodivergency, I think of certain sectors have a higher proportion of people with neurodivergent ranges inside them. And I imagine so the tech sector is one, creative sector is going to be another one. Are you honed in on those sectors in particular?
Yeah, so we kind of focus on the tech sector. One reason because they are sitting for very long periods of time. We don't like just focus on neurodivergent individuals. That was just an example, because it was just an example I was using of like the sort of different approaches we have for different individuals. But you are right, they can be, a higher number of neurodivergent individuals. But yes, so our target is the tech industry, and like the consultancies because we that's a high stress job as well. So
And they're both industries that run off data. The consultancy and tech both measure performance quite
exactly.
quite refined way. So and you can provide the data points.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we obviously we do it at we measure things at a different from a different perspective. It's a new approach that people aren't used to, but like having this to have a look at to see how much it does impact the business. Because there's a lot. So for now, one of the things that's impacting businesses a lot is the isolation where people are working from home a lot. People are isolating themselves and they're preferring that. So offering massage at the same time you work is, yes, it's a great perk. You can save yourself time as well as because so people are choosing health over work, or work over health. With this, you don't have to compromise either. So you can actually start taking care of yourself. It's a great way to get people back into the office. And I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but massage, it releases oxytocin. Oxytocin is what's responsible for us connecting. And with like the increase of people working from home or feeling isolated, people are now struggling to talk and communicate. So I feel like we need a lot more oxytocin in the world. And that's another great way of getting, just increasing our connection with people again.
So that's fascinating. I didn't know that about oxytocin. And I guess what you're actually doing is improving performance in the individual and improving performances in teams. Because if you're building up connection, and
Absolutely.
I'm sure that the staff go in a little bit more on the days that you're around and providing the service. I'm certain that would be the case. So when you started the business, how long's the business been going now?
So I've been working on the business since last year, so since May last year. Um, the idea, I've actually been working in the gaming industry, which is poker and casinos, uh, performing massage for over 10 years now, which is massaging at the same time they play. If you're not from the industry, it sounds very, very strange, but it's very common across the globe. It's very popular. So what I did for that industry is I actually created an app and I digitalized the service. And whilst I was doing that, I got a very bad back doing it. And that's when I sort of connected the dots and was like, actually, there's so many like similar like elements to the two. So you're sitting for long periods of time. It's a high stress environment. Obviously, you get a really bad back. And that's when I thought I'd transfer the experience and knowledge over from gaming to the corporate world.
Wow, that's actually one hell of a story.
Yes, yeah,
That's a bit
an
more.
interesting one.
It really is. I mean, that's going because you imagine that lots of businesses who want to be in the sector will come from a massage background and think, I'll just provide these services in a corporate environment. You've come from a completely different thought process to say, okay, there's a commercial opportunity here because I can increase the performance of a business. That,
Absolutely.
that's a very different approach in the market, and yeah, that's you've blown my mind a little bit actually. I hadn't thought of it. So that's great. So you've told me a little bit about the story behind how you set the business up. What are you finding your challenges at the moment? What's kind of keeping you awake at night?
I think the challenges with the business or with the
Yeah, with the business, yeah.
business. I think it's getting people to it's intercepting the idea into the corporate world. It's very different and it's unique. And a lot of people I feel are getting confused about the idea. So they still think that it's not at the same time that you work. So this might be and then I'm getting a lot of responses of that they're sort of thinking it's still like taking time out of because so a lot of companies, corporate massage companies start with 15 minutes. We don't do that. We actually start with a minimum of 30 minutes because we don't see how we feel like 15 minutes is more disruptive than productive. So when we're sort of approaching people with the longer time frames, usually we recommend a minimum of an hour actually. Um, the instant response is they've got to take that time out of work.
Mhm.
So delivering the message and the benefits, I think that's probably the hardest challenge right now. It's because it is such a new concept.
Wow. All of this is rolling through. I'm just hearing things I've never heard in this sector before.
Yeah.
So a data-driven approach. How are you finding working with the corporates? I mean, I guess the challenge you've described the challenge as being adoption.
Yeah.
So, in terms of getting through the corporate engines, like the HR departments, etc., the positioning piece around that, how are you positioning that? Is it taking you quite a long time to position it to your relevant prospects?
Yeah, so actually the approach is very different for gaming. I do feel like gaming is a little bit more relaxed. It's more and with sort of B2B, it's a longer process because there's a lot more hurdles to sort of go through and it takes a little bit longer. So so that's sorry, can you just repeat the question? I think I'm
Um,
about to go on a tangent.
uh, it was about communicating that message to your relevant audience, so your prospects. How are you getting that across? Because that seems to be quite a challenge in there.
Yeah, so right, that's right. Yeah, so I guess what's best for me, what's working best for me at the moment is face to face, people going to events and people seeing it. So we do massage at the same time we work, but we also massage at events whilst the event is happening. So if you're sort of speaking, I will be, or the team will be at the back massaging whilst the event is actually happening. So again, you're saving time and you're learning and sort of taking care of yourself at the same time. So this for me has been a great way of introducing a number of people to something happening at the same time, and that's a great way for me to get people to know about it.
Okay. So in terms of your growth goals, the business is still fairly young, and you're
Yeah.
reaching out into the corporate sector. I'm sure you're generating some wins. How do you feel about your growth goals? Have you set defined goals for 12 months, 24 months? Have you got those in place yet?
Yes, I do. So, the growth goals, how have I defined them or how?
Well, are you on target for them?
So I feel like the original, we're slowing down with them because the first 3 months, we had to approach it differently. So our first plan, as I said, wasn't going how we wanted it to go. And so we had to approach, which is now why I feel like in-person events is now what's accelerating us. So that has put us back on track and actually is taking us places a lot quicker than we expected. So
Mm.
yes, we are on track and going. And at one point we were a little bit rocky about whether we were going to get there. So yeah, we are.
Okay, brilliant. So you've had a mild pivot, and that's it, which is the right thing to do. So
Yeah, well the pivot is more about the approach rather than the idea, if that
yes.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. It's about understanding who in the marketplace is suited to your product, and you're doing that, and I'm sure you're doing that really well. So we've discussed growth goals. We've discussed your background and where the business is going. We've talked a little bit about the sort of sectors that you're suited to in the short term. Long-term goals. What do you see the business doing?
So, at the moment, as you know, we're a young company.
Mhm.
So we're targeting mainly like the larger cities. Long term, I actually want to go global. I want to take this to I guess the next step would be the UAE for me. And then move further, hopefully eventually get over to the States. That's the plan to go global.
That's fantastic. Love
Yeah,
it. Love that ambition. So
thank you.
that's yeah, we deserve it. What, so what have been your big learnings so far? So you have that's not just in the lifespan of the current business of Manage. Before that, what have you been your big learnings in business?
I think the biggest learnings are just to just to just to do it. I think a lot of people think you need to know what you're doing to go, and you don't. You just need to do it and then realize that actually, you don't know until you've started. I think what's interested is, like as I just said, something you think you can execute and work perfectly and gonna get you these results doesn't always happen that way. So like just getting out there and doing it, executing your plan, realizing, yes, that's amazing, it worked, or oh crap, that didn't work. Like I need to try something else. The sooner you learn that and know that, the faster you can move on to the next step.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest learning, just getting out there and doing it.
So the fear factor, false expectations appearing real, get past those,
Absolutely. Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get ready to fail.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And even if something doesn't go quite right the first time,
Yeah.
it's like it's all about learning. It's a learning curve. So absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And is have there been any kind of inspirational figures or things that you've learned in one capacity or another that have given you a sort of sprinkling of ideas about how you want to run the business or just inspired you in general?
So, I mean, people in general that I meet, and I think all walks of life you can learn something from. Um, so I think always having an open mind is really important. Um, I I read a lot. I like to read as much as I can. I read a lot of psychology books. I find that very helpful. So there's a book by Daniel Goleman called Emotional Intelligence. I think that was an incredible book. I think it's important to understand people in business. I'm currently reading Traction at the moment, which is another great book. But for me, generally, just having an open mind and learning from everybody. They don't necessarily need to be a huge influential figure for you to learn something from.
Yeah.
And it can be a positive or negative lesson that you take from them. So it could be like, okay, I'm not going to do it that way. Or it could be like, well, that's an interesting take from a different perspective of people. Do you know what I mean? There's so much everybody can teach you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A very wise lady once said to me, with knowledge, it's like drinking from the stream, and you can only drink a certain amount at any one time. You just need to keep coming back to the stream.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh, I love that, that's brilliant, yeah.
She inspired me actually. So yeah, and I've never forgotten that expression, and it's always stayed with me. And I think, yeah, well, you're living that abundantly, aren't you? So plans for the future. You've got you've got a growing business. You've got a really interesting, really interesting model. I haven't heard of this model before. So performance-driven massage inside businesses will
Yeah,
delight any good HR professional, I imagine, because that's going to increase the efficiency of the business, which is going to reflect right across the business. So you're now targeting, or you're speaking to businesses in specific sectors. Have you got any new products or services, or you got a new twist on what you're doing other than what we've already discussed? Because what you're doing is you're bringing a data-driven approach into providing a service inside a business that's going to benefit the employees and the employer. I think I've summed that up.
yeah.
Is there anything? Is there any icing on the cake that you want to tell me about that I haven't picked up on?
So I guess there are different ways that we can approach it. So some people may not like being massaged in the office with everybody else. So we can actually take a room and set that up for high performance as well. And in those rooms, we can use different things, which would be like food enhancers that are good for the brain. We can use different essential oils as well, and we can also offer a playlist which is known for like enhancing your productivity or your focus. So there's that aspect as well that we can sort of add to the mix, but all in all it's all sort of based on the high impact performance points massage.
Excellent, excellent. That's unique. Well, so far as I've never heard of it before. I'm not saying I'm an expert in the field. I'm clearly not. To me, is stand out, and I know personally some businesses who I think would benefit from this. Well, I know they benefit from it, and I can see the doors opening for you. So look, absolutely fantastic. It's been fascinating to hear about your business. Honestly, I've never heard of anything like it. I think,
Thank you.
and I can see you're going to do really well. Thanks
Fantastic.
so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate the conversation.